Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 6:30 p.m. and a quorum of members is present, so the meeting of the Board of Education of the School District of New Berlin is called to order. Please call the roll.
Ms. Crosby?
Here.
Mr. Helmer?
Here.
Ms. Connick?
Here.
Mr. Kurth? Ms. Schultz?
Here.
Mr. Seidel?
Here.
Ms. Spindler?
Here.
Mr. Kurth let me know that he's unable to attend this evening. Now I would entertain a motion to recess to closed session.
I move to adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 19.851 C, E, and F of the Wisconsin statutes to consider A, the approval of closed session minutes of April 24th, the employment, performance, and compensation matters pertaining to staff, consider financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any persons referred to in such history or data or involved in such problems or investigations for purpose of discussion and consideration of special pupil education matters.
Okay, so I have a motion by Ms. Crosby.
Second.
A second by Mr. Helmer. Please call the roll.
Ms. Crosby?
Yes.
Mr. Helmer?
Yes.
Ms. Connick?
Yes.
Mr. Kurth? Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Seidel?
Yes.
Ms. Spindler?
Yes.
We're moving into closed session and we'll return to open session around 7 o'clock. It is now 7:19, and we are returning from closed session to open session. In recognition of the serious and important nature of our efforts here, we will join in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. For all those who are able, please rise. And now, for those who wish to prepare for the meeting, we will have a moment of silence. This is a public meeting of the Board of Education. Prior to this meeting, notice was given to the public last Friday by providing the agenda to the City Library. The agenda was also posted on the district website. A copy of the agenda was forwarded to the Journal-Sentinel, the Waukesha Freeman, and the Waukesha Now, all of which have filed requests for all public notices. First, we have recognitions this evening of a Career Exploration Partnership Spotlight with National Fluid Power Association.
I'd like to invite a Director of Secondary Teaching and Learning, Kelly Kwiatkowski, up.
Hi, it's my honor to introduce the National Fluid Power Association as our Career Exploration Partnership Spotlight this evening. The National Fluid Power Association has granted us a tabletop mechatronic unit to help with our students, helped with a variety of field trips, competitions, in-house speakers, have given us guidance when it's time to do curricular revisions, but I could go on and on, but I think you want to hear from our students and staff about our partnership more. So I'm going to ask Dana McLaren, one of our engineering teachers at Eisenhower, who's integral with our partnership, to come and say a few words.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to highlight one of our partnerships. I nominated the National Fluid Power Association for their dedicated support for our districts, including our middle school students, our high school students, and our teachers. Their support has gone beyond just giving us resources. They have given us lots of experience, and I have had firsthand talks with them about growing my industry-relevant technology and curriculum resources. They also give us experiences for our students, including industry tours. Last Friday, we just went to NOPAC, and we also have the opportunity to bring our middle school students to compete at the Fluid Power challenges. I brought two of our successful students, Gabby and Kyle, to help present the award. Without the National Fluid Power's tremendous support, they probably wouldn't be where they are at today. Thank you again for paving the way for success for our students. This is Haley. She is representing the National Fluid Power Association.
Do either one of you want to say a few words? No, they're good. Sounds good. All right. So if you want to come up, I can give you a word. This is Haley Nemeth. She's the representative from the Fluid Power Association, and she's in charge of the fast track area of Milwaukee. So congratulations, and thank you for all of your continued support.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you all for honoring the National Fluid Power Association tonight. We really value your partnership and your willingness and excitement, and that makes our jobs really easy and worth it. So here's to moving forward together and connecting students to fulfilling careers in the industry, in the fluid power industry if we're lucky.
Next is privilege of the floor. I believe we do have one speaker this evening. Meetings of the board are conducted for the purpose of carrying on the business of the schools, and therefore are not public meetings, but meetings held in public. This portion of the meeting is an opportunity for you to come and voice your concerns to the board. So please do not be offended when we quietly listen. We may even take notes. We do not immediately respond to your questions and comments. This is a time for you to talk and us to listen. Thank you for coming to voice your comments and concerns. When I call your name, please step up to the microphone, address the chair, and state your name and whether or not you are a resident in the school district. Each presentation is to be restricted to a maximum of 3 minutes. Privilege of the floor will be limited to 1/2 hour. Presentations are not to be designed for purposes of engaging others in a debate in this forum. Discussion of certified, classified, or professional personnel, or of individual Board of Education members shall not be considered an appropriate topic for this forum, and the speaker will be ruled out of order. Robert Duffy?
Hello. Yes, Robert Duffy, and I am a district member. Thank you, Board, for taking the time this evening. So I wanted to discuss, as you may recall, a terrifying threat to student safety regarding Poplar Creek was made public at last school board meeting. Myself and many others were shocked to hear of this for the first time, and the lack of communication that subsequently followed. Like many parents, concerned whether it was safe or not to even bring our daughter to school the next day, we immediately started trying to gain additional information. Reasonably, we reached out to the school, and Mr. S, as kind and patient as he was only able to give limited information. We attempted to contact the SRO, and subsequently, similar results, limited information. An attempt to contact the district director of student services was also made. This call has not yet been returned. With this information being lacking, we attempted to gain information from talking to other parents, and we took notice of various Facebook and social media groups to try to gain information whether it was safe or not to send our kids to school. At this point, David Cody, District Director of Communications and Public Relations, took it to overstep and request the admins of these private groups to remove posts regarding this issue, citing privacy rights. This is an overstep of authority. The district has no right or authority to attempt to interrupt parents from discussing safety issues of their children outside of school or school-sponsored events. For a district employee to reach out to private admin administrators and state privacy laws to remove information is just out of order. Obviously, these kinds of privacy laws do not apply to, they do apply to schools, but they don't apply to parents. Obviously, this has now graduated from a simple lack of communication to a potential misuse of authority by a district employee. I do ask that the board review this employee's actions and determine if they were within policy. If they were within policy, I ask the board to review that policy. The lack of communication and transparency from the school district on a whole, and now an attempt to silence concerned parents, is beyond alarming. Without information given, parents are left to find this information on their own. Without widespread communication, additional information that could potentially prevent a tragedy does go missed. We cannot just simply give blind faith that the district is handling these types of incidents properly. And to be honest, seeing how the district has handled this situation thus far, and then an attempt by a district employee to prevent parents from speaking with one another, I think this mistrust becomes warranted. All too many incidents have occurred throughout the country in which schools have dropped the ball in managing these threats and have resulted in the tragic death of children. With this now being made public, the school, the district, and the board would potentially be liable should an incident take place. I ask that the district immediately initiate a policy that all parents, not a specific grade, not a classroom, all parents be notified of general information, not identifying information, general information, as soon as practical, anytime there is a threat to a school that involves a firearm or a threat to life, okay? As well as the general steps that have been taken to ensure student safety. This will prevent parents like myself from having to attempt to gather this on social media and elsewhere. Let me ensure the board that when a threat involves a firearm in a school, all students are at risk, not a class. These incidents do not stay confined to a grade or a classroom. Rounds are indiscriminate. They go through walls, windows, and doors with ease. The current approach also places a significant amount of trust in someone who is willing to commit atrocities to stop once they've hit the bottom of their list. In addition, students of all ages and grades intermingle throughout elementary school, at lunch, at recess. This does not stay confined to a grade or a classroom. Please give us parents the information to decide on our own whether or not it is safe for us to send our kids to school. A lack of communication, a lack of transparency only complicates these matters, does not make them better. Other districts utilize a transparent approach. I ask that New Berlin does the same. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is President's message and announcements. Don't have anything this evening, so I will move on to the administrative team report. We have the school update from Ronald Reagan. Are we going to do that one first, or are we?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm short. Hi, good evening. Angela Patterson, proud principal here at Ronald Reagan.
And I'm Matt Stick, the associate principal here at Ronald Reagan as well.
All right, we're going to see if we can make this work. Okay, good.
All right, so like other schools that have come before us, we're aiming for a significant increase in our state reading achievement by the year 2030. In order to do that, we need to increase our focus on forward literacy scores and increasing those by approximately 3% per year. For this school year, that meant increasing our overall proficient in advanced reading percentage to 57.1%. Since we took the test in mid-March and April, we'll know the results closer to the fall.
To meet that overarching forward goal, we also chose to focus on grade band sub-goals this year that are aligned to our FastBridge literacy assessments. All of our baseline data was set on the previous year's cohort of students. For our K and first grade students, we are focusing on the benchmark scores of the early literacy assessment. For second and third grades, we are looking at both the benchmark and the percentile for their sub-goals in A reading, as well as the CBM fluency assessment. And for our fourth through sixth graders, we are focusing on the percentile, and again, that will be on the A reading assessment. And so as of winter this year, our students were on track to meet those goals. With 4 through 6 already meeting or surpassing their end of the year goal at our mid-year point. We are in the middle of our current FastBridge cycle, so we are excited to see the final results in a few weeks.
Up next, our family and student survey data remains consistently high, so our goal this year was to sustain that success. We targeted increasing our communication presence surrounding the work we do supporting the social, emotional, and mental health needs of our students, particularly in our family newsletters. In addition, we are also supporting our students' mindsets through tackling hard tasks. These take place during our weekly social, emotional learning lessons, as well as with our new partnership with Growing Minds and with our weekly counseling services offered by our partnership with Family Services. Connected to that, Ashley Baker, our school psychologist, and Claire Sorge, our district social worker, have also added social emotional learning groups that they are meeting with regularly and incorporating supports and interventions. We have also dug deeply to unpack our staff survey results from last spring. From those results, we have had a targeted focus this year on improving our staff culture and the overall climate. We have included a quarterly survey this year, and our teacher-led school culture and climate leadership team have had monthly coffee talks where staff can get together and celebrate and brainstorm ideas. We have seen positive increases in our quarterly survey data and are excited to see the growth on the current district survey, which is ongoing this month.
Like the other schools, we have some additional data slides to share with you. These data slides include various comparisons from this year and last year's FastBridge data in both literacy and math. Slides that are not cohort comparisons will be labeled as such. Our first slide shows a comparison of third grade reading at benchmark in both A reading and the CBM reading, which is a fluency assessment. Both of these are comparisons from winter last year and winter this year, and these are different cohorts of students. This is a cohort comparison, so it's showing the same group of students that are at or above the benchmark percentile on the A reading assessment only, and the A reading assessment measures different general reading skills, reading passages, different things, and answering questions about those.
The A reading assessment is only given in 2nd through 6th grades. This slide shows winter 2022 and winter 2023 data and the students that were at or above benchmark percentage. This is not a cohort comparison.
Students in K-1 also take a number of smaller assessments that are administered one-on-one, and those compile into what's called the early reading scores. They can include letter identification, sounds, nonsense words, and more, and each assessment window takes on different subtests. This graph shows winter to winter of the K-1 early literacy assessments, the 2nd and 3rd grade CBM fluency assessment, and the 4 through 6 auto reading, which also assesses word identification, vocabulary, and morphology. Some areas to highlight here is we saw some nice gains from our 3rd to 4th grade and in our 5th to 6th grade.
Moving on to math, this graph shows a 3rd grade comparison from winter 2022 and winter 2023 for both math assessments in Fastbridge. Again, this is not a cohort comparison. A-Math measures general math concepts, and Auto Math measures fact automaticity.
This shows a more direct cohort comparison from last year's 3rd graders to this year as 4th graders in the 2 different math testing areas. These are the percentages of students that scored at or above the benchmark percentile, and again, some really nice gains in the area of math.
This math data shows the A-Math assessment from last winter in grades 2 through 6. Again, this is not a cohort comparison. A few things to highlight are the significant jump from 3rd to 4th grades and from 5th to 6th grades.
And finally, we'll look at the building as a whole in the area of math. This includes the K-1 early math assessment. Again, these assessments vary in grades K to 1 depending on the testing window. They can include subtests such as sequencing, number identification, decomposing, and matching. Grades 2 through 6 in this graph are representing the fact automaticity assessment. Another few things to highlight are the big increases from 3rd to 4th, as well as from 4th to 5th.
And moving on from data, we also want to share some highlights of our day-to-day life here at Ronald Reagan Elementary. As other schools have shared, we have focused significantly on our new ELA curriculum implementation this year. The adoption of CKLA was a major undertaking that involved great learning for our staff and, more importantly, for our students. Grade levels often incorporated culminating projects or activities that connected to the knowledge that they were learning. A few examples include a medical professional day in 1st grade, which is on one of the slides there, which connected to the learning of various human body systems. In 3rd grade, they studied Greek gods and goddesses, culminating with a student-created wax museum where students came to life as they researched gods and goddesses. And then finally in kindergarten, students learned about kings and queens and royal life throughout history. They ended their unit with a formal ball, which was really cute to see.
If you want adorable, then you need to come to a kindergarten ball. It was pretty great. We're also extending our literacy focus to the community. A few examples include our night before school bedtime story, and this year we chose The Magical Yet. This connected to our all-school theme, The Power of Yet, which focuses on the mindsets of all the things in our lives that we're working on but maybe haven't been able to do or be successful at yet. We've also recently finished our 3rd annual all-school read. Thanks to our generous Home and School Association, all of our families received a copy of A Boy Called Bat. We culminated this great family event with a family literacy night that hosted over 150 people last week. We even had a sweet skunk named Chase join us for the night from the Wildlife in Need Center. It was pretty great. And we've also provided you with your very own copy of our all-school read book tonight. We hope that you can pass it on to a child in your life that will love the book as much as we did. And then finally, our Home and School Association has also hosted 2 in-person book fairs. One is happening right now. Tomorrow's the last day in case you want to come shopping. The funds raised help put books in our teachers' classrooms as well as other HSA-funded events.
Connecting to our school-wide goals of social-emotional learning, we worked in many ways to support our students and staff. Each quarter, we held an all-school assembly that focused on a different character trait such as responsibility, respect, and resilience. We learned from high school athletes and club members about those traits and what they mean to them. We also celebrated with fun games like the collaborative Hungry Hungry Hippo game, which is shown on the slide, and and also students that exemplified the goals and traits that were nominated by their teachers earned a t-shirt at the assembly, which is also shown. We had community partnerships that supported our goals as well. As mentioned earlier, our district partnership with Family Services allows a therapist to work out of Reagan 1 day per week, providing counseling to students that need it. A new partnership for us this year is with Growing Minds. Growing Minds began an 8-person classroom pilot this spring. They taught 8 various lessons that connected to our current social-emotional learning curriculum, Second Step. In these classes, students learned the science behind the brain and emotions and how to notice changes in their emotions, as well as mindful strategies to try to help with focus and calm. One of the most important partnerships we have continues to be with Care Solace. We have supported so many families and staff with this by helping them take the step into counseling. Care Solace makes a very overwhelming process feel seamless and safe. Our Building Social Emotional Learning school leadership team also hosted 2 kindness events this year. One in November connected to World Kindness Day, and another in February connected to Random Acts of Kindness Day. This year, we collected donations to 4 different organizations, encouraged students to show kindness at home and school with their daily challenges, and students even set kindness goals on music notes, which hang in our gym for all to see, or used to hang in our gym.
Down this week.
And then moving on to the next slide. Okay. Yep. Here are those 4 organizations we collected donations for, as well as the kindness goals. You might be able to read that one says, "I will amplify kindness by helping to make dinner," and the other says that they won't knock their sister over, which I think is a pretty worthwhile goal.
It's definitely one way to show kindness. We'd also like to highlight our Home and School Association. They continue to be an outstanding partner for us. This year we held our annual fun run, which again raised over $50,000 this year. A few highlights of other events they've hosted were the Trunk or Treat in October, the Someone Special Dance in February, and they are also currently hosting Ryan McIntyre as our artist in residence this year. He's currently writing a song for our school that incorporates ideas and lyrics from every single homeroom in the building. They also have some great events coming up, like a glow dance on Friday. There's the staff lunch raffle. And in conjunction with the Education Foundation, we're looking forward to the 4th of July Festival as well this summer. Other amazing community partnerships include our partnership with Junior Achievement. They helped us plan and implement our annual Jump Into Your Future Day, where students learned about various careers from adults in the community, many of which were parents here at Ronald Reagan. They also hosted our 5th graders for the annual BizTown trip, which is a wonderful annual trip that every 5th grader looks forward to. This year, we also continued our partnership with the New Berlin Police Department. They held Shop with a Cop around the holidays, where students from Ronald Reagan and from around the community were able to come and buy presents for their families. And of course, the New Berlin Police Department supports every single 5th grader with their annual Dare Learning. We also had a Christmas clearinghouse, which we didn't get a photo of this year. Their support again this year was wonderful and supported families in need with gifts during the holiday season. We also want to highlight the amazing work that the New Berlin Education Foundation is doing. The teacher grants that they support every year have funded some amazing things, such as the golf equipment that you see up there. We had our new golf units in place this year. If you didn't get to see the mini golf, it was pretty fun. We also had families come in to mini golf with their kids. It was a really great opportunity. They also funded brand new Battle of the Books books this year for our 3rd through 4th grade Battle of the Books. And our partnership with HSA, our Home and School Association, also chose to invest some of their funds with the Education Foundation so that they can continue to grow and to support our school in other ways. And finally, we want to highlight some of the other amazing opportunities that our students have at Ronald Reagan. Not only are our students strong academically and in character, but they are also really talented too. We had many teacher-led and community-led extracurricular activities that were offered at Ronald Reagan this year. Choir, if you haven't seen one of their performances, you should come by tomorrow night and check it out. It's pretty amazing. Our band and orchestra will also be performing tomorrow evening. Our talent show for our 6th graders, another teacher-led committee. That's Gavin up there playing the guitar. It was pretty awesome. We had a mindful movement group led by Melissa Schmalz, Battle of the Books in 3rd through 6th grade. We had an art club, a Spanish club here, and various different levels of scouts. And of course, there were many different sports that use our facilities for practices and games. And finally, we'd also like to end with our amazing student council. This truly is work for kids, led by kids. This year, they once again raised money for the Milwaukee County Zoo's Adopt an Animal program, where they made the zoo publication again for their efforts. They raised almost $5,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in honor of the late teacher, Peter Michaud. They've collected hundreds of pounds of Pop-Tops for the Ronald McDonald House. They hosted a food drive in conjunction with our Kindness Weeks. They held an anti-bullying poster contest, our annual door decorating contest, and more. Our students, community, and staff continue to amaze us each and every day. We hope our presentation tonight highlights some of the many ways that they live our Eagle values in and out of the classroom.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, can we go to slide 7, 8? I think it's 8.
Sure, can we tell me which the title of that
The
is?
A reading comparison. Probably one more, 2 more back. I think it's 74. Yeah, a couple of these.
This
It
one?
looks like, yeah. So I know this isn't a cohort, but when you compare 2nd grade to 3rd grade, it becomes a cohort, right?
If you did the blue to the red, yes.
Yeah. So it looks like we had a major drop in 2nd to 3rd grade, and then a small drop from 3rd to 4th grade. Do we have any data behind that and why that occurred, or?
We don't have any specific data that supports that particular drop. I know that we're all monitoring the data really closely as we continue to implement the new curriculum. It's definitely been a change for our staff and students as we take that on, but we've really been seeing some amazing things within the classroom, so we're hoping that that data continues to move upward as they get used to the new literacy curriculum, the new learning, the new forms of assessment, things like that.
Okay. And with this, what are you guys doing to measure reading, or not reading, writing improvement? So I know that with this curriculum, it seems like we've got a pretty significant drop off in quantity of the amount of writing time that the children are spending. Do you guys have metrics that track that? And how is that showing right now?
I don't think we have specific metrics that track that particular target. I know that through our grading and reporting, we're meeting twice a month with our literacy coaches to look at the various assessments that are coming up, including writing scores, that we're keeping track of those on different spreadsheets that we're analyzing, but it's not specifically measured in FastBridge in that way.
Okay. Is that part of the, it's for Kelly probably, is that part of the state testing? Is there a writing standard in there?
The TDA.
Yeah.
The text-dependent analysis is on the forward assessment.
Yeah, and writing is taught. It's just that we don't have, FastBridge just doesn't test writing.
Right.
But we have other assessments
Right.
that our teachers are doing inside of their classrooms on writing, and writing is part of their report card grade. So
And those scores through those assessments are the ones that we're monitoring and analyzing.
And we intentionally teach also to make sure that what is going to be asked on what they have to produce on forward is things that we're teaching all year long.
The teachers did say this year on the text-dependent analysis, which is a 4 to 5 paragraph essay, that it was the best their kids have ever done.
Yeah,
It was really impressive.
yeah.
Can we get that metric for writing for the state standard test added to our annual presentation?
I don't know if the state breaks it out that way from general reading to TDA. I don't think they separate those
Thought
scores.
it did.
They did a few years ago, but I
Oh,
don't
is
think
it?
they did last year.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
If there is
but-
something specific to writing, we can definitely report
Okay,
that
cool.
back
Yeah.
to the board.
Thank you very
But
much.
if it was forward, I didn't think we got that last year.
Yeah, it's not. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no
The
problem.
other thing that I want to clarify, which I did clarify to the board in an update recently about a comparison done with a previous school, and I can't remember which school it was, but these are also not true cohorts necessarily. So you can't just assume that the second grade in blue is the red in third grade. So the example that I shared with the board was, we had an influx of, I believe, either 20 or 30 students that either left or came in. And, when you're talking that many kids, they could, the kids that are coming in that particular case were much lower than our kids, as opposed to the kids that left, which were actually high. So it's still not a true cohort comparison. So I do want to just point that out. Now, I think we should go back and take a look at that and dig a little deeper, so that I can provide an update to the board to find out what are some of the things that actually are causing that.
Sure.
Other than, as you had already mentioned, the implementation year in our work. Thank you.
Real quick, Joe, is that a common trend that we're losing high-functioning students and picking up?
Not sure that I could say that.
Okay. That's why I was just curious, because that would be weird that we would have that anomaly on all of these, but
I know that for us, we did have an increase
you
in
guys
our
had
third grade.
huge
We did-
swings, I think. You guys had
Yeah, we
25
did.
kids per grade.
Yeah.
But I
we
would
did have
think
a
we'd
huge
be
swing.
not losing our best students every time and picking up.
I think it's also fair to assume, though, that we're going to get kids that are lower because we're so high achieving.
We did just get 2 brand-new students this semester. Right before the forward test, mind you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, thank you. I know the board has given a lot of feedback on presentations when it comes to giving data. I just want to make sure the board is getting the information they want. Is this what you were looking for? Okay. All right, thanks. Then we have our consent agenda. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Nope, I moved on too quickly.
Angelina.
Yes, we have our student update.
Tried to cut me off too early. So as we are currently in the second week of AP testing, students have been grinding their studies, putting in all the effort that they learned over the year to prove themselves when test scores release in July. Also saying this, there's been a talk between the students about suggesting an increase of importance and awareness on AP classes and tests, similar to the approach the school took with ACT testing prep. Our Heritage Spanish students recently read about a character who had to learn new skills to adapt to a new living situation. To put their newfound knowledge into action, each student taught a personal skill or talent to another class member as a great way of learning and growing together. Some of our dedicated education students observed at Maryland Ave Montessori School and had an opportunity to attend UWM's Education Summit, where they have participated in a college class, led an icebreaker activity, and connected with other dual enrollment students from various school districts. In March, 28 French students qualified for the Wisconsin Concours Orale, also known as the State Pronunciation Contest, and were evaluated by 3 French-speaking judges, where they were scored on their interpretation, pronunciation, and memorization of a French poem appropriate to their language level. After receiving scores, all 28 students received gold medals for their exemplary performance and celebrated with a mini flex party. The Wisconsin Department of Public Education named Miss Homay Wisconsin Teacher of the Year for her remarkable dedication to her profession, her outstanding contributions to the lives of countless students over the years, and her strong commitment to supporting and fostering the love of learning. This award is only given to 5 teachers annually, and we are so proud of her leadership, in which we organized a hallway parade to congratulate and honor Miss Homay. Ms. Thompson is also in her 7th year as instructor of cooperative academic Partnership Program, Spanish 204 through UW Oshkosh, and was awarded the Adjunct of the Year Award, which highlights exemplary adjuncts in the areas of their academic content and alignment with curriculum. The Wisconsin Association for Language Teachers has awarded 3 Vikings: Ralph Audie, who won honors in language study for his drive for language learning in and outside of the classroom, as well as Josephine Senger and Elena Meyer won Excellence in Language Study Award for their outstanding achievements. Some of our most recent sporting accomplishments include our Lady Viking softball team won 15-0 against West Allis Central. The girls' soccer team got a little over halfway through their game last week before a rainout and won 2-0 over Waukesha North. And our NBW boys varsity golf team had the privilege of supporting the MAC Fund at the Lac La Belle Golf Club, contributing to the fight against childhood cancer. Also, our New Berlin United Winter Guard took 6th place at championships, and Natalie Lavrin earned Midwest Color Guard Circuit's Rookie of the Year award. Chick-fil-A Leadership Academy is hosting Uniting for a Cure 5K Saturday, May 20th, where you can walk or run whatever distance you'd like, and all profits will be split and donated to the MAC Fund and Alex's Lemonade Stand. And lastly, despite minor controversies surrounding the optional photo location meetup, prom was a success. Prom was held at the Brookfield Conference Center, and photos held at the beautiful Milwaukee Public Library Central Library. The night started with the Grand March and Coronation, where Claire Rawson and Emilio Garay were named prom queen and king, and then continued to a good dinner with multiple food stations and a dance floor where students danced their school stressors away.
Thank you. And now we have the superintendent's update.
Yeah, just wanted to let you know that to kind of tag on to what Angelina mentioned, we actually did receive 6 Herb Cole award recipients out of 100. So like we actually have 6% of the Cole award recipients. Of those 100, then they actually pick 5. And then Cigar, Home and Poor, West Teacher, who was honored last week, is one of those 5 Teachers of the Year, the State Teachers of the Year. We look forward to recognizing them at an upcoming board meeting, not just Cigar, but the others recipients. I also had an update related to our conversations about digital access. We are looking at making an adjustment to the student acceptable use policy based on a conversation we had with Richard from Neola. As of now, we are trying to figure out how to navigate some of the resources. So for example, CKLA does have embedded videos that are YouTube-based, and so we're trying to figure out other options if we were to move away from restricting streaming and games, say grades K1, K2, K3, whatever it may be, just making sure that we have, that we're covering the content in alternate ways as needed. We also are looking at this time, and actually this was a conversation we had prior to this being brought up at the board level, but we actually are not going to be releasing the iPads to students to leave, at least at the kindergarten level, so that they would always just stay at school. We're considering possibly other grade levels, but as of now, our recommendation is going to be kindergarten at minimum. So again, we're still working with our digital learning coaches, our teachers. We are kind of going back and forth on where the recommendation will be as far as grade level. I know that the board had mentioned, look at 4th grade. We've got teachers and others that are suggesting otherwise for various reasons, to possibly look at 2nd grade or 3rd grade, but we'll bring that recommendation to you at your next meeting so that we can implement this starting next school year. That's the update on that. Any questions?
Real quick, on the CKLA YouTube videos, they don't own the YouTube video, so if that's embedded in their software, that video could be taken down or anything for year to year, so how would we manage through that if that video gets taken down or someone removes their copyright from that? It seems odd that a curriculum company would have YouTube videos, but I don't, maybe that's common, I don't know.
We'll bring that information to you at the next meeting. Thank you.
All right. Then we are on to the consent agenda, which includes notice, the approval of minutes of the board meeting on April 24th. There's a Spain 2024 trip, field trip application, also an Eisenhower Band and New Berlin Orchestras to Orlando, Florida field trip application. And let's see, that's it. So are there any items that should be pulled out for separate consideration? All right, do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer and a second by Mr. Seidel to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. On to our regular agenda. We have the appointment of committee members and other assignments. So last week we did the voting for officers, and so next, now as president, I am to appoint members of our 3 standing committees, and also we have 3 other assignments. So I'll start with those 3 other ones. We have the City Council Liaison, which is currently being held by Mr. Kurth. He's not here this evening. I was going to ask him to continue in that position. I'll just assume that he will continue. And then I have CISA 1 delegate, currently held by Amy Crosby. Would you continue in that position? Okay, thank you. And then we have a WASB delegate, and we don't currently have anybody. I did send out an email asking everyone for interest. I didn't get any interest back in that, so I will name myself as the WASB delegate. On to our committees then, we have Finance, currently being chaired by Mr. Seidel. Would you continue in that position, please?
It would be my pleasure.
Great. And then I'm going to ask Mr. Kurth to join that. And then myself, I will continue on that committee. And then for Facilities, I have Mitch Helmer. Would you continue in that?
It'd be my honor.
Okay, thank you. And then Renee, continue also on that committee?
Be my honor.
All right. And then Allison Spindler, would you join that committee? Okay. And then we have the Personnel Committee. Renee Connick as chair. Would you continue in that position?
It would be my pleasure.
Thank you. And then Amy Crosby to continue as well. And then I will also continue on that committee. So now we have all of our assignments. Next, we have a first read of new policies for adoption, which are the zeros, bylaws, policy, also the thousands, the superintendent, and 2000s for program. And so we've got that chart available to review that has all of the links. It's also public, so if anybody in the public wants to take a look at those and send feedback, please do. It would be up for vote at our next meeting. There's a lot of them, so I really encourage, please read them. I already found one that I'm going to make a suggestion on. So hopefully if everybody can at least take a chunk of them and give some feedback. If you have any suggestions or comments, questions, send those on to Joe and myself, please.
Yeah, I would agree, Janet, just because we have 44 policies. These policies are being presented to the board based on recommendations from the OLA to comply with current law, regulation, court decisions, or best practices. But yes, the sooner you can get us that feedback, the better, so we can prepare the upcoming board packet.
Any questions right now on any of those? Okay. And then next, consideration of voting for officers' policy and procedure. And I put this on the agenda, but I also had Mr. Helmer mention it to me as well. I was already planning on doing it. Probably heard in the news. Whitnall School District had an issue with voting for officers. And I just thought it would probably be a good idea that we put something in place, because 2 things. We wouldn't want to have what happened at their school district. Although this is not a reflection on Ann or Diana, we have been very, very fortunate. We have very professional board administration assistants, and so it's not a reflection on you. But for you also, we'd hate you to be in a position where you're unfairly accused of something. So I asked Ann to see if there is an existing policy on how to go about counting. And she did reach out to Neola to see if they had an existing policy available. And we did get a comment back in that there's not actually a policy. Also, there used to be a bylaw 0152, which had to do with officers, but they no longer use that policy because it basically just reiterated what was already in state statute. But that state statute doesn't actually list out the procedure for how to do it. And so the Neola person gave their personal opinion that this really is a procedure and not a policy. But as I was reading his comments back, he never really said whether or not to put it in writing. And so I wanted to bring it to the board. This is more like a work session kind of thing. Like, what do you think? What should we do going forward? What would you like to see done? Should we put something in writing? How should we make a policy or procedure to sort of like put in checks there? So we don't have a situation where someone goes rogue or someone's accused of something unfairly. Thoughts?
Since I've been up here, we have not had a contested election. So I kind of looked at it, while I understand why with that being in the news, that we should look at something, but currently we have not had a contested election in 3. So, just my thoughts.
Not a board member, but I think one of the things that could have resolved that issue very simply, I watched the board meeting several times because I was intrigued about the entire matter, is that if not just the administrative assistant read or kept the votes, but also somebody else, so that it, because here in our circumstance, you have me and Ann up here, where that wasn't the case, that you at least have 2 people doing it, and then we actually also keep the ballots. I think that was the other thing that I found intriguing, is that, why couldn't you just keep the ballots then, and or just handed those 7 ballots to
Back to the
somebody
president or something?
just verify. So again, it doesn't matter to me whether you want it in policy, procedure, but there are just some commonsensical pieces in that situation that I just could have easily avoided the entire thing. But very bizarre, to say the least.
I think to that point, Ron, it hasn't been an issue, and I think that's a great thing, but I just don't want to be the first one on the news because that can come up. And
well, we wouldn't be the first ones.
Oh, you're right, second
Yeah,
one.
we don't, I'd be like,
I would think a procedure would be appropriate in this case.
And my thought was we just do the vote publicly, or we get a second person. My problem with the second person is, do you make a list? How do you do that? How do you manage that? But I do like the idea of giving them back to the president to read, too.
So then make the procedures so you know what to do if there's a tie, because then what do you do if there's a tie? Do we know?
I don't know.
I think this issue is when the outcome is, everybody knows the outcome just is different, or you're questioning the
Yes,
outcome.
I
It'd be
saw,
if I
yeah.
took 3, if I had 3 votes and she gave me the president and she had 4,
Right.
how do we make sure that that doesn't happen?
Right.
That someone
Yeah.
can rig the election, essentially.
It's never a bad idea to have a second set of eyes on it.
Yeah, and the suggestion from the Neola person said that in his experience, there's always been 2. It's never been just one person counting the votes. It's then counted by somebody else.
Then why don't we just have a procedure in?
There wouldn't be a tie
No,
unless someone was
yeah,
absent.
right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, why don't we just have a procedure in?
That there's 2 people?
Yeah.
Who do we want the second person to be?
Thoughts from over here.
We're just looking this way.
Or you elect the clerk, and then the clerk could do it with Ann.
Yeah. I mean, and this is not Ann, this isn't Joe, it's, whoever we have in 10 years from now. I mean, this process should be there for them.
Correct.
I don't know that Joe should be the one seen as, or the superintendent as, that's our one employee. Not that Joe would rig the election either, but.
But wouldn't the clerk be part of that vote, though?
Well, we elect the clerk, do we elect the clerk first?
No, you elect the
No, it's
president
usually
first,
president,
'cause then
and
the
that's how it
president
was there
takes over the
too.
meeting.
And you might have an outgoing clerk that isn't there anymore.
True. I guess we'd be happy to bring a proposed procedure.
Well, I wrote one.
What's that?
I wrote one and I gave it to Ann.
Oh.
But I don't know if, did you see? I copied you. So basically,
Yeah,
I think we get Rebecca Bradley to do it.
I don't think she's going to come in for that. But anyway.
She's here for it anyway.
I mean,
She doesn't
basically-
swear in that night.
I know, oh, no, wait, does she?
Yeah, she'd be here.
Oh my gosh, we could have whoever's swearing us in. But sometime, if we don't get her though, Ann would, or who would be swearing us in? Because Ann could swear us in, right?
yeah, I'm not sure that we would want the person swearing us in
Oh, to help count?
doing that.
Well, my suggested policy basically said there would be another person also counting. And my first two thoughts were the personnel director or the community relations director. And then if not, one of the principals who was at the meeting could be the second counter. And then, or, my first idea was, why doesn't the board just waive the right to having a closed ballot and make it just an open ballot? I mean, I don't care. It's the only one where.
Maybe
Well, that would solve the entire thing.
And so,
Yes.
but my thought was like, every time that annual meeting is, the board would have to vote then and there, let's make it open. Because I figured, you're going to have a changing of the board, and maybe not everybody's okay with it.
Yeah, but that's the policy until the board changes.
Well, my thought was the policy would be either
Vote.
this one or this one. First, you could put it to a vote and say, let's just make it public and be done with it. Or if you don't have enough people on the board who wants it public, maybe there's some who still really feel strongly it needs to be
Well, I think that,
private, then say, okay, if you don't have a majority who wants it private, then you have to have a second person counting.
just have it public in the default, as the default, and if they wanted to deviate from that and vote silently, then they would,
Well, then you'd
they
have
would
to
change.
vote so the other way around.
They'd amend it, yeah.
Would we need a motion, though, to appoint somebody at that point in time if it's held in public?
No, not if we have a procedure in place and there's always a second person and we name whether, it's another administrator or,
Does anyone
If
have,
it's
does
somebody
anyone have a
sitting
problem
in the-
voting in public with
I
that?
don't.
I don't.
I don't,
just make it public, our practice going forward?
Because that would solve the entire thing.
It's a public vote anyway.
What if we just made it a public vote?
Just make it a public vote.
Yeah, because this is the only vote that statute says you could be private, so.
Understand why we do it in private anyway.
All right, so
I always
then,
thought it was weird too.
so then we should just have a written procedure that says the board agrees we're gonna do it in public. And if not, then there needs to be a motion to make it private, and there needs to be a second person counting with them at that point. Okay, so could you bring us something to the next meeting that we could vote on then?
Sure, yeah.
Is that good? Everybody's good with it? Okay.
Yep.
All right. All right, so then we're done with that. We have an action on an item discussed in closed session. Could I have that motion, please? Yes, Mr. Seidel, you said you were going to do that.
I will make a motion to approve the employment and compensation matters pertaining to staff as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Seidel and a second by Mr. Helmer to approve. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimous. Okay. We have future meetings and dates. We have a meeting Monday, May 22nd at 7 o'clock PM. Is this at Poplar Creek? Okay, that one's at Poplar Creek. Which, by the way, otherwise, our meetings are always held the second and fourth Mondays beginning at 7 o'clock PM, and will be held in the conference room E at the district office unless otherwise noted, which, of course, the next one is Poplar Creek. The one after that is Monday, June 12th at 7 o'clock PM. Other important events and dates to remember, May 29th is Memorial Day. There is no school. June 9th is the last day of school. It's a half day. June 9th is also the West graduation, and June 10th is the Eisenhower graduation. Now we're going to also move into closed session again. To finish our closed session, do I have a motion? You still have to say the pursuant every time we go into a closed session. At least there's only one thing.
I move to adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 19.85 1C E and F of the Wisconsin statutes to consider
Just a superintendent contract.
superintendent contract modification.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Crosby and a second by Mr. Seidel to move into closed session again. Could you please call the roll?
Ms. Crosby?
Yes.
Mr. Seidel?
Yes.
Mr. Helmer?
Yes.
Ms. Connick?
Yes.
Ms. Schultz?
Yes.
Ms. Spindler?
Yes.
Okay, we'll be moving into closed session, and we will adjourn from closed session. There won't be anything to vote on, so we'll just adjourn in closed session. Thank you.